And you can sort of see the effect it has on him to be around them. Like they spoil him. There's sort of all the classic stuff that grandparents do to grandchildren. But it makes him a much better human being to have exposure to his grandparents.
Well, I don't know.
And the evidence on this, by the way, is like super clear.
That's the whole purpose of the postmenopausal female in theory.
Yes. Yeah, you hear a thing like that and you drop a yes and then you move on with your stupid podcast appearance. JD Vance, that's what you do? That is the whole purpose of the postmenopausal female. And I do think I'm pretty critical of American political culture, but I don't think that there have been enough instances of two wealthy white men using the term postmenopausal female in a judgy way where they're the ones saying what their purpose is. And so thank you to both of you for doing that. But anyway, the podcast host, which we'll get to him, says that's their purpose. JD Vance says yes and just moves on. And look, I know that things get thrown out in these sorts of podcast appearances, but and you don't always, when you go on someone's podcast, want to disagree with them, but when they say something deeply weird and gross, I think that you have kind of an obligation to do that. And he declined to do that, and that is why it's popping up. That was an appearance from back in 2020, and since it fits so well into the expanding canon of JD Vance's super weird commentary about women, we're talking about it. Now, they don't want us to talk about it, the JD Vance people. They say the media is dishonestly putting words in JD's mouth. No, I'm putting words in the podcast host's mouth that he then agreed with. His word was yes. I didn't put that in his mouth. I think his body put that, his diaphragm, I guess, maybe put that in his mouth. Of course, he does not agree with what the host said. JD reacted to the first part of the host sentence, assuming he was going to say, that's the whole purpose of spending time with grandparents. It's a disgrace that the media is lying about JD. First of all, maybe there are people in public life that I will assume what they were assuming was going to happen. I'll extend them that rhetorical or mental olive branch. JD Vance has not earned that, not even close. He's a creep and a weirdo, okay? And so I will assume all sorts of creepy things about him, but also in this case, I don't have to. Because yeah, the guy said several things and JD Vance said, yeah. Now you can say he meant to agree to one part of it, but you know what he didn't do? Disagree in any way with the other part. They just continued on.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
And it stays creepy after that, and we'll get to that too. But so no, miss me with the whole like we're being dishonest and putting words in his mouth. He put the words, and he did it as he always does. He went on a show or in a room to give a speech with a bunch of creepy rich incels. And he said the thing that makes creepy rich incels go, yeah, the stupid women. And he got the applause for it. Well, you got the applause. You got the applause 4 years ago. You think that you get that applause and then you're not gonna pay the price for it now? No. Not in this America, not in this campaign. We're gonna make sure that people understand what you've said, and not just us. Of course, the Harris Walls campaign are doing it too. They put out this press release, days since JD Vance insulted women across America, 0. I appreciate the meme. That is basically their go-to now. Is their press releases they're just driven by a meme. But I like it in this case, and we're gonna get to another thing that he said there. But they also did a great job in putting together a bullet point list of some of the lowlights. Before he was president, Donald Trump called pregnancy an inconvenience for a business. So both Donald Trump and JD Vance making a decades-long series of creepy, weird comments about women. Trump said we needed to be careful with paid family leave because we needed to keep our country competitive. Okay. Vance attacked universal childcare as class war against normal people. Again, JD Vance is like, I understand everybody's focused on the fact that he's like weird about women in that sort of like incel-y religious way, and that is totally true. But he's also weird about them in that Silicon Valley way. It's both of those things simultaneously. And anyway, there's a whole lot more. You look at the graphic, you can see all the policies that they backtracked on. And by the way, I'm not just focusing on this. Again, every day, both old appearances of JD Vance has come out, but then he also says new weird things. So Laura Ingraham asks him, what do you say to suburban women who are worried about abortion rights? And he says, I don't buy that. I think suburban women care about normal things. And I know they'll say I'm putting words in his mouth. No, he said they care about normal things, because wanting to have control over what happens to your body is abnormal. It's strange to want control over what happens to your body. And so he comes out of that looking really bad. I will also point out that Laura Ingraham says it's up to the states, even if some of them want it to be banned national, it's up to the states. And I will say to her, kind of what I say to Donald Trump, when you just say everybody wanted to go to the states, when that's not at all what everybody wanted, that is almost by definition not persuasive. You can't tell a person who is enraged about their rights being stripped away that deep down inside they wanted this. That's not how it works. And if you're a person who used to have control over whether you become pregnant and now you don't because the state you live in has a bunch of right-wing a-holes running it, the idea that in a different state the law is different is not much consolation to you, I would wager. And she again thinks that somehow that would be persuasive. It's not at all. I don't think we're gonna go on to the extended thing just because we lost a few minutes on the early part of the show. I'll just point out, and it's not getting talked about much, in that yes that JD Vance gave to the podcast host. You might hear that and think, oh, that's just like some guy from the Daily Wire or whatever. Look, I don't know if this is better or worse, but that's The Portal, hosted by Eric Weinstein. Weinstein is the managing director of Teal Capital, the venture capital firm that basically gave us JD Vance. And so it's not just some regular like fake alpha right-wing guy running a podcast. It is another deeply wealthy guy that goes on in the extended podcast to basically imply that if you're a woman and you have family that has kids, you quit your job to go help out. Like he uses the example of JD Vance's mother-in-law, I think in this case, and she's a biology professor or something. And he implies that if she had not taken a hiatus from teaching to come help with the kid, that would be weird and unacceptable. That is who he is. That is who both of those people are. Grotesquely rich guys that will fight to the death to make sure that nothing happens in terms of laws or regulations to make having a kid more doable financially or in terms of your time. Nothing to protect your job if you have to take time off, but social pressure to stop doing your work. If you're a woman, not him, by the way. He didn't imply that like the father-in-law should take time off or anything. Obviously not, and he shouldn't either. But the mother-in-law, how dare you even consider the possibility of continuing to work? Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.